Okay, there appears to be a hubbub in the boxing community over a recent announcement from DAZN. Apparently, they are changing the subscription price. Starting March 25th, they'll debut a new annual pass option of $99.99 per year, and you'll get over 100 fight nights per year for less than $100. Or pay $19.99 per month, which is basically double what people were already paying. $19.99 per month if you want to stay flexible. But here's the kicker. If you're like me, and you already had the app, the price won't change for you. So for those of you out there that wasn't asleep at the wheel and already subscribed, then this, to you, is a non-issue. You see, if you're already a member, your price is going to stay the same until March 25th of the following year. That's saying that if there's a price change, it's not going to affect you for another 12 months. But I'll tell you something. What really caught my attention was that $99 per year package. That caught my attention. You see, if you can do the basic math on this thing, you actually come out saving more money if you decide to just pay the $99.99 per year than if you paid month to month. Let's do the math on this thing. Let's say it's after March 25th and you decide that you want to subscribe to DAZN. Well, that will make you subject to the new subscription price, which is $19.99. $19.99 over the course of 12 months brings you to about $239. Whereas if you pay that hundo up front for that $99 package, you get the same content for far less money. But that's only under the condition that you cough up that hundo up front. Now, if you're like me, and the subscription price isn't going to change, and you're still paying $9.99 a month, that comes out to about $119 over the course of 12 months. Whereas, once again, if you pay that $99 up front, you get the same content for $19 less than you would have paid on that month-to-month situation. So I'm not really seeing what the hubbub is. I'm not quite sure why there are people out there that seem to have a gripe or seem to take issue with this, when essentially, if you were already an existing customer, then these changes don't even affect you and won't affect you for another year. And the introduction of the $99 package actually affords you the opportunity to save $19
throughout the year
on an annual basis. So I think that maybe people saw this and maybe they just couldn't do the mental math and couldn't figure it out, that not much is really changing if you were already a subscriber. And if you're a new subscriber, yes, the subscription price is 2 times what it was before, but you don't gotta pay that. You give them that hundo up front, and you're still gonna get the same content for far less money than paying month to month. And when I saw some of the comments floating around regarding this recent news, it seemed like people were, I don't know, looking for something to complain about where there really was nothing to complain about. They were looking to create an issue where there really was no issue, because I reiterate, if you were already an existing subscriber, then this doesn't even affect you. Whereas if you're a newbie, yeah, maybe you're affected, but you do have the option of just paying that hundo and saving all that dough. That's if you're interested in subscribing to DAZN. But let's say you don't want to have to pay month to month. Let's say you don't want to have to shell out $20 over the course of 12 months. Let's say you don't want to do that. Let's say you're only interested in certain fights that involve certain fighters. Well, if that's the case, all you got to do is pay $20 a month to see that fighter. That 1 month that there's a fight involving a fighter that you like, all you'll have to pay is $20 to see that fight. Let's say, you know, you're not interested in all that other content and you just want to see Canelo versus Jacobs, for example. Well, that fight would only run you $20. What would that same fight have costed you on another platform, on a cable network? What would that same fight involving a Canelo Alvarez have costed you on an HBO, for example? Or a Showtime, for example? Something to the tune of $75, right? $75. Well, that's a lot more than 20, ain't it?
Can y'all count?
Now, let's backtrack a bit. Let's backtrack from December until now. We have seen 3 pay-per-view events, 3 pay-per-view cuts. We've seen Wilder versus Fury, Pacquiao versus Broner, and more recently, Spence versus Garcia. Those 3 pay-per-views, if you decided to buy them, would have run you about $225. Mixed reviews about those fights. Some people like some of those fights more than others, but all the same, it's pricier, isn't it? It's a lot pricier than if each one of those fights costed you $20 as opposed to the $75 that they costed. Essentially, what I'm getting at is, even with the updated subscription price, it really still is value for money. Consider the Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia fight, right? Look at that fight. Not everybody liked what they saw in that fight. Not everybody thought that that deserved to be a pay-per-view. But look at the performance, and you tell me that that wasn't a mismatch. That wasn't a $75 mismatch. And like I said it in my reaction video, and I've been saying it ever since. I knew that fight was going to be a mismatch. I knew that that fight wasn't the kind of fight that really belongs on a pay-per-view, regardless of what it did in the market, regardless of whether you liked it or you didn't like it. What it was a mismatch, a $75 mismatch. Whereas on DAZN, you're gonna see two middleweights, two guys who are actually in the same weight class and are actually both champions in that same weight class. You get to see that fight for either $9.99 if you were already a member, or $20 if you're a newbie. But either way, that's a lot cheaper than paying $75. So if there are people out there that are trying to use this as ammunition to criticize DAZN, if there are people out there that are taking issue with this, the inference you can make is that these are either people who can't count or people who are so strapped for cash they just can't find it in the budget to pay $20. These are people that are so strapped for cash that the idea that they might have to pay $100 for a yearly subscription to something, something that they're supposedly fans of, that the idea of that bothers them. That's not right. Listen, guy, I pay that for Amazon Prime, okay? So I don't know how everybody's situation is. I'm just saying that I know value for money when I see it. But that's mostly because I know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Do you know how to do that? It doesn't sound like it. Because if you find yourself complaining about this update, it's likely because you don't know how to do the math. If you don't want to end up paying more, if you don't want to end up paying $19.99 per month over the course of 12 months, you don't have to. You can just pay, for 1 month. If there's a fight coming on that month that you want to see, you just pay for that month. Or if you do want to have DAZN over the course of the year to catch all the cards, well, you don't have to pay month to month. You could give those guys $100 up front, and that'll come out to less than you would have paid paying month to month. It's really not complicated. But that's, if you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Now, most of the people that I see criticizing this recent development just so happen to be the usual suspects. Just so happen to be Deontay Wilder fanboys, essentially PBC fanboys overall. These are the main guys I see that are trying to make a stink over it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what, you didn't subscribe already? It's only $9.99. You didn't get a subscription yet? I guess not, and that's why you're complaining. But if you didn't get a subscription yet, and all they would charge you is $20 a month to see certain fights, you telling me you can't find it in your budget, your monthly budget, to pay $20 for all that content? You ain't got $20? If you ain't got $20 over the course of a month to pay for that, I think you've got bigger problems than where you want to watch your boxing and what you want to pay for that. If you ain't got $20. Or if, whatever it is, whatever your line of work is, whatever your profession. If you ain't got $100 lying around to spend however you want to spend it, I reiterate, you got bigger problems than where you want to watch your boxing. I just don't understand how the PBC shills could try to criticize this when PBC is charging you more for basic-ass fights that really do belong on basic-ass cable. They're charging you guys more than that.
And just for a month.
Which makes me question whether or not PBC's fans are actually the ones that are carrying these pay-per-views. Because think about it for a second. The PBC charged their fans approximately $225 from now all the way back till December. They put on 3 pay-per-views.
$75 each.
Roughly $75 a pay-per-view times 3 is $225. That's what they charged you guys. And you guys were actually willing to pay that, weren't you? Assuming you actually bought those fights.
You buy those fights.
But the fact that you're complaining about a $20 price tag or a $100 price tag for an annual subscription to DAZN, the fact that that price bothers you leads me to believe that you motherfuckers didn't even buy them fights that y'all can't shut the fuck up about. And that's why you're complaining. Because not only can you not afford, PBC's content, their pay-per-views, not only can you not afford that, but you can't even afford to pay $20 a month.
That's why you're complaining.
So I reiterate, you motherfuckers got bigger problems than where you want to watch your boxing.
Seriously.
Because PBC been charging y'all, that's assuming y'all been paying the price tag for them fights. That's assuming y'all bought them. You ask me, I think PBC's biggest fans, the guys that can't shut the fuck up about these fights, if you ask me, I don't think they're paying for those pay-per-views. Because if if you're willing to pay $75 for Spence versus Garcia, or $75 for Pacquiao versus Broner, or $75 for Wilder versus Fury, if that's a price tag that you're willing to pay for one fight on one night, then why would paying $20 a month bother you for a month's worth of content instead of paying $75 for just one card? Doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Right. I don't know, man. PBC fans, they tend to be an enigma. They tend to be a puzzle wrapped in a burrito in a Baxter's box or something, because I just don't see how you could be on board to pay $75 for Pacquiao versus Broner, or Spence versus Garcia, a fucking welterweight versus a lightweight. I don't see how you could be on board to pay $75 for that, then turn around and complain when someone says, hey, do you want a month's worth of content for $20? I just don't see how you could complain about that. Not when it includes Canelo versus Jacobs or Joshua versus Miller. I just can't see it.
Better. You just mad that, well...
I'm not mad. It was a good fight. It went the way I thought it was.
Really? Did you pay for that shit? You paid for that shit?
I didn't think he was going to knock him out. I thought it was going to go the distance.
Did you pay for that shit?
I called
Did you pay for that shit?
Huh? I watched the fight.
You bought that shit? Yeah,
I watched the fight.
Nah, did you buy it?
Nah, I went out. I went out and watched.
You went out where you went because you in your house right now.
Huh? Yeah, I'm home. Shit.
So the fight just finished. How you home already if you went out for it?
Right, because I live near the movie theater that was showing it.
Well, I got the feeling you ain't buy that fight, but you want to talk about it.
Again, I went to the movie theater to watch it.
PBC
AMC 24 was showing it.
PBC fans don't even
AMC 24 was showing the fight. That's why.
AMC 24?
Yep, was showing the fight.
Like, how far away is that from your house?
What's that got to do with it? That ain't none of your damn business with my house.
Where I'm from, what that got to do with it? You asked me if I'm from New York.
I'm from Camden, New Jersey, born and raised, but I live in Virginia.
So the AMC is right by your house because you got.
Nah, but I live in Virginia, man. I'm retired military. SEAL team support, 22 years of service, and I live down here in Virginia now, where I retired out of the military.
We know that ain't
like I said,
nothing in VA. But you telling me you went to the movie theater.
I am what I say I am. Trust me.
What movie theater you seen that at?
Hampton 24. What that got to do with it, though? Where you going to anyway? Where you going with this?
I'm trying to find out if you paid to see that fight because you.
Why is that relevant? Why is that relevant? I saw the fight.
Why is me being from New York relevant? You didn't stop you from asking a question.
Again, so what are you trying to prove, my man?
That you ain't buy that fight.
Where you going with this?
You ain't buy that fight?
Hell no, I ain't buy it, but I went to the movie theater to see it. I paid my money to see it.
You ain't go to the movie theater. You ain't go to the movie theater.
Okay, all right.
How you in your house that fast if you went to the movie theater?
Okay, we totally off subject now, okay? What the hell is that?
Man, calm down. I got this, man. It's just some dude from New York, man. He just
he did.
That's my old lady. I'm good. I'm laughing because you funny, man.
Yo, I'm telling you, I say it all the time.
You funny, man.
Did he buy it?
You did not buy that.
No, he ain't buy it.
Okay, then so why you worried about something else?
Hey, chill out, man. This man stuff right here. Chill out.
Okay, so
let me do my
yeah,
thing.
you right, Jose hit the nail on the head. If you bought it, if you went to the movies for it, let me see the ticket.
Man, get out of here, man. I ain't going through all that.
So you ain't got the movie ticket?
No,
you went to the movies?
Hell no. Anyway, like I said,
to see the movie?
Y'all watch. Let's get back on subject because I'm getting tired. I'm gonna go and take a shower and go to bed because I've been up. So my thing is, Terrence Crawford, mark my word, Terrence Crawford, and watch this shit. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence will fight sometime next year.
Now, I want you guys to be mindful of that live feed. That live feed was taken post-fight after the Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence pay-per-view. A pay-per-view that I suspect my friend in the video did not actually pay for. I suspect that he streamed it. Now understand that I am not condemning him for streaming it.
That's not it.
It's not streaming it that's really the problem, that's really the conundrum. That, you know, maybe you don't think that fight is really worth what they're asking you for, so you decided to find some other way to see it. But if you had to turn to an illegal stream to watch a PBC pay-per-view event, that would then have to mean that you are no more a proponent of that hefty price tag than I am. That you don't want to pay that shit any more than I do. But you are the guys who are actually arguing in favor of all these pay-per-views that, oh my God, it's so great. I mean, look at the Wilder versus Joshua conversation. There's a lot of guys that'll tell you that Wilder's right to hold out, that he was right to turn down the guaranteed cash because he could possibly make more on a Showtime pay-per-view.
You sure?
And as I said in my previous video, the biggest problem with a Showtime pay-per-view is that there's a lot of guys that aren't going to pay for that fight. There's a lot of guys that are going to do what the guy in the live video decided to do, and they're going to decide to steal it. Oh, they'll sit there and lie to you to your face about it. They'll lie through their teeth about it. But you can see that these guys don't want to have to pay $75 any more than I do for that fight. Now, if I don't have a choice, if I have no choice, and a fight like that ends up on Showtime pay-per-view, then I will pay what it costs. But when I see that there's an alternative, when I see that DAZN is offering Wilder $100 million guaranteed, that's $100 million to the fighter. That means a chunk of his money ain't gonna go to the network and the cable and satellite companies. A chunk of his money isn't gonna go to the break-even point. You don't have to sell X amount of pay-per-views to start profiting from the upside. When I see that DAZN offers him $100 million to the fighter,
guaranteed,
and the fight itself will come at a cost to me of $10.
Only $10.
I think that that's a good deal. I think that's a good deal that everybody can win from. And yet, what you find with PBC's fans is they'll tell you no. That should be on a Showtime pay-per-view. He'll make more money that way. How's he gonna make more money that way when you motherfuckers keep stealing the shit? You might not want to admit it, but you should ask yourself that question. If you really care about Wilder, for example, and his bank account, and his benefits, if you really care about this guy that much that you spend day in, day out arguing in favor of his bank account, then why would you propose that he have the Joshua fight, for example, on a pay-per-view when all your motherfucking ass is gonna do is steal it? For that fucking shit, you might as well just argue in favor of him fighting on DAZN. That way, all you'd have to pay is $10 or $20, as opposed to the $75 that Showtime is likely to charge you for that fight. Because we know you don't want to pay that. None of us want to pay that. Not if we could watch that same fight for $10 or $20. You got all these fucking guys thinking, oh yeah, Wilder's a genius for holding out, for being independent. Of course he could make more on pay-per-view.
Not off y'all.
How's he gonna make more on pay-per-view when most of his fans have intentions of stealing his fight? I mean, if it really is your concern that he maximize his earnings, then you should be arguing in favor of guaranteed cash, not gambling on pay-per-view where people could steal your fight. Because we know that's what happened with Wilder versus Fury. 325,000 Americans allegedly decided to buy it, but 2 million decided to steal it.